This is the Outliers Edge podcast, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity by taking them to the edge of their comfort zone so that they can lead us to the edge of what's next. I'm your host, Niiamah Ashong. Let's do this. Hey there, Niiamah Ashong here, and I have the pleasure of being in service of you. I am the founder of Outliers Edge, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And one of the things that has been really abundantly clear as these conversations have taken place, as I am speaking to more and more leaders who are bringing their own unique contribution to the world, or to their world, actually, is just how important service is at the bottom of all this. You know, I think there is a time, and I'll be honest with you all, there's a time when I was very focused on trying to bring in as many people as I could into the Outliers Edge platform. I felt I had something that was important, that, you know, we can go out there and reach out to people. And truth be told, I thought it'd be a great way to go and meet some people who are outside of my world and then potentially create clients from them. What ended up happening is that, like, while some of that was effective, what I found was that we were missing something. We were missing something important. And the important part that we were missing was actually just being real with people, and part of, like, I guess for me, part of my magic is being genuine and helping people, like, be seen, celebrated, and valued. But there's a way that I was going about it that was out of alignment with that. And so what's the word that has been really permeating and leading a lot of what the conversations right now, and as well as, like, every part of everything that I'm doing right now, is is the word service. So today, I invite that, before I go on and introduce the featured outlier today, I invite you to look at some place in your world right now where, rather than bringing more, efficiency or productivity, or like trying to reach out and just trying to expand for the sake of expansion, what could you bring in from the standpoint of service? What can you do, even if it's still to expand? How can your expansion be in service? How can you approach it from a place of service? We're revamping our entire, like, email system right now, because we realize that, like, it's while we want people to get things from us, we're also missing service all throughout. When we easily could. It's a 3% shift to make this, like, feel really real. So I bring that in today as our context of the conversation. We'll see where the conversation goes overall. But, you know, we're going to be spending some time just being in what service looks like today, with an amazing outlier, someone who I thoroughly enjoy spending time with, and someone who gets what service is all about, who is able to slow down and actually, like, help people, like, go through incredible experiences in order to transform, uplift, and create from there. Today, I have the pleasure of spending time with Tamara Von Dohren. Tamara, did I get your last name properly?
Almost. It's Von instead of Van.
Von.
I think
there it
it's
is.
the Dutch, whereas Von is like the German or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me do that again here. I'm not going to edit it out, but I do believe in the power of names, right? The importance of it. So I'm very, very excited to spend time today with Tamara Von Dohren. Tamara, it's great to talk to you today. Welcome to this conversation here. And thanks for being the amazing outlier that you are.
Thank you. And speaking of service, you may hear my dog whining in the background, who is demanding right now that I service him with dinner. So don't worry, he's not starving. He is perfectly fine.
Yeah. All right, outlier. So take that in. Ask for what you want. Sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't, but ask for it regardless, right? Tamara, like, I love to start off these conversations really just sinking into, like, the person that's in front of me. And so I'd like to just tell you a little bit about who you are to me, and then let's go on from there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, I always think I'm just going to, like, slide right into it here, but I'm like, oh wait, no, I actually have to, like, see the person right here. So Tamara, like, we've known each other for several years, and, like, the person that you are to me, we use this word back in the day, and it still feels really true here, which is, like, Phoenix. Right. The idea of Phoenix, when it comes to you, is, like, I feel that not only are you able to live many lives, like start things up, allow that to live out to its fullest, and then like graciously and also like unabashedly move on to what else is next. But you're able to do it in a way that like lights up those that are around you, really lights a flame underneath them and gets them into action, and do it with grace, such that it's just like the natural part of like breath, right? It's just like, here goes a natural cycle that this will take. And then when it's time to start from the ashes again, we shall rebuild and grow from there. I know you do this by with your clients, but you also do it like physically in life. Like you live in different places, you have multiple careers. Like you're not one that shies away from like allowing a life to like be reborn in the direction that you're looking for. And I think that's something not everyone is in tune with creating, and you get that. In addition, I also think about like just the overall Phoenix part. And then we had some conversations in the past around like a dark Phoenix. And I think that the dark Phoenix part also really like plays out for me, but in the sense of like, I trust you. Like you have a wonderful smile, you have a great energy, and it's like really effervescent, and it feels incredibly quote unquote positive. Like the light is there. But what I also love about you is that like you're able to walk very like effortlessly, or at least it appears effortlessly at this point. We're able to walk through the darker sides of things with people as well, myself included. And in doing so, just like allow us to have a fully rich experience of ourselves and the world that we're living in. And not everyone's able to play on both ends of that as nicely as you do. So that's something there. And then the other thing is that like you have awesome ideas. You bring them to life. You'll like have an idea. You'll travel to a place and be like, look, this thing came to fruition. And I think that there's something in there around, how do I say it? I enjoy like mentally sparring with you. You know, I enjoy being able to like get behind the scenes and be like, all right, so how do we actually create this thing? And bring in. The thing about you is that like in terms of getting action done, you're an action taker. That's it. So it's really fun to be able to now then sit down and say, okay, given that you're going to take action anyway, how do we orient it towards like your highest, best, and most like expressive purpose, the thing that'll give you most fulfillment throughout. So that's who you are to me, Tamara, in this moment. Yeah, I really want to make sure I ground myself into that and make sure I don't miss you in this conversation. Yeah, now I feel like I've arrived. So yeah, I've shared a bit about, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I appreciate that so deeply, because speaking of, like, I had to write down lives many lives because I've never really viewed it that way, to be honest. So it was kind of nice to hear it expressed that way. And given that I'm probably going through my biggest transformation and new life creation yet, it's feeling a lot tougher than some of the others. So it was really nice to hear that viewpoint of it. I'd forgotten some of that stuff. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I told you before we hit here, I'm going to make sure that one of my goals is to make sure you get to see something new about yourself that's always been there, you know, but see it from a different light. And that feels really important to me, like, because I feel like your ability to live different lives it's not just a quality that you have, but it's also one of your superpowers. And like your ability to do this is what makes me like trust you when you are like taking your clients through it. I'm sure your clients come to you because they're over there looking to start new lives or to step into things where like people like they're recreating and rebirthing themselves, and they're like, how do I actually go through this process? You're quite adept at it. You like and like that's the thing, like when you tell me like, oh, this one feels like particularly difficult, I'm like, all right, cool. Like it's probably because you're playing an even bigger game than you've played before, or you're playing a different game than you've ever played before.
Well, this has been a 12-year work in progress, this one.
Ooh,
so
okay.
that's
all right.
yeah,
all right, so you got
yeah, whereas the others, some of those were like last minute decisions, some of those happened in like 2 weeks, like some of them happened in like 6 months or a year. This has been a 12-year build up to this one. So
all right, so tell me what you can about this year, because this one feels like a quest. It feels like we're like in the epicness of a quest rather than just like a mini thing. It's just like, no, I've been building toward this. So tell us a little bit about that, and then I also want to make sure I shared who you are to me, but you can also share about yourself like personally and professionally as well, just to get people up to speed with you.
So yeah, I mean, it's that goal that I guess a lot of people have, moved to Europe. For me, it was my very first trip to Europe 12 years ago. And I still remember to this day, like coming out of the train station in Paris, in Gare du Nord, and looking up at the buildings and just getting that like, like I'm where I'm meant to be feeling. And every time I've returned to Europe since, I've felt that. And so, yeah, I'm on the track at the moment to move back to, I say, because I've spent kind of periods of time, like 5.5 weeks at the most, in Paris, and I've visited probably 7 or 8 times by this point. But move back to Paris permanently as my long-term going for citizenship in France, home base in Europe.
That's awesome.
So it's, yeah.
That's quite cool. There's certain things in there that also really like picks up. One, the element of just like knowing when you know, you like, you walk in, you're like, oh, this is different. I'm currently living in San Diego. I remember flying down here and like coming off of the airport and going down by the harbor in order to get to the destination I was at. And I remember I've flown to many different like airports. I've had to go to different things. But I was like, in 10 minutes, I was in the city. And like shortly afterwards, I'm like, this is just beautiful. Like, why wouldn't I want this? You know, like how do I bring this into my life? Within 4 years, we were living here, right? So I hear you with that component of like, when it's just you, it's just you know?
And it was funny because so that was the first trip 12 years ago. And then 2 years later, when I was moving from Australia to Canada, I spent 5.5 weeks in Paris to get it out of my system, which clearly did not work. So if you ever think you're going to live somewhere to get it out of your system, that's probably just the beginning.
Well, yeah. Well, let's slow down on this a little bit here. I do want to talk about the getting out of your system. It actually is a place that I would like to go and explore. What feels like it's missing for me is like, I want to make sure you have space to just like speak yourself into this room here, so that like we can establish that, because the conversation's going to go in places neither of us even expect. And I want to make sure that we at least reading that. So Tamara, tell us a little bit about who you are. We don't need titles here, but if like you can still just share like, who are you, and include in there anything that you feel will really benefit us or benefit you as you ground yourself in.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I am a woman who has reinvented herself multiple times in multiple different cultures. The most different being 3.5 years that I spent in Japan. I've been through a multitude of careers in radio, in event management, in what else? Marketing, luxury brand sales for Harrods, lots of different things. And what it's given me, and in different countries and cultures as well. And what it's given me is a really, I think, unique ability to see things differently and connect dots that other people can't see, which I love doing. And for me, one of the ways that I do that is crafting experiences. Like I love even just simple things like throwing a dinner party for my friends. Like, it's not simple for me. I have gold-plated cutlery. I have matching glasses. It is a 3-course affair. People only have to bring the wine. And it's just, I create an experience for my friends that is my way of expressing how much I value them. That, results in just good conversation and bringing people together. And quite often I'd say, bring someone new. I don't have to know them, but bring them along and kind of open the group a bit more. And that carries through into the work I do now with my clients, where I really like it to be like a handcrafted, right down to the details of scents and favorite colors and things like that experience. And yeah, I think it's living in Japan and kind of the work I was doing for a period of time there. I think I'd forgotten that a little bit. And with COVID and stuff, there wasn't that many experiences. And so it's really nice to be getting back into that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that about you. When you talk about like even down to the scents and colors, I'm like, oh wow, like this is for me it says so much there. It says like, hey, this experience is for you, and we're gonna pay attention to you. And it's interesting because I hear a lot of people you know what it's like to work for luxury brand sales, or you know how to be in like a luxury brand.
Yeah.
And when I tend to think about luxury from the way that other people describe it to me, it's all about like the glitz, the glamour, the the large yachts, or like, the like the pamper in some sense there. But like when you talk about like down to your scents, down to your colors, down to all that stuff, like that feels luxurious to me. Something that is actually like in both its simplicity and its attention to detail feels like tailor made for me. Like that feels really luxurious. So like I'm just taking that in as you say that right now, and just kind of orienting myself in that.
And it's one of those things like yeah, people do kind of on the surface view it as this big glitz and glamour, and the bigger and the more expensive, the more luxurious it might be. But if you think about one of the classically most luxurious things a person can do is a bubble bath. And the reason is because there's touch in there, there's sense in there, there's lighting. So like it's just such a multi-sensory experience taking a hot bubble bath, that is a luxury, and it's just a classic luxury thing. And people kind of forget that sometimes luxury can be the most simple but the most personalized things.
So I really love that, because I know that you work with your clients, you create experiences that like can be like on yachts all the way to like the most personalized things, right? You can work like your clientele expands a large gamut as well. But I hear you say that, and also I feel that connection of like, hey, actually, like we can work with luxury, we can work with like high net worth in a lot of different ways. We can work with like, there's a lot in here in terms of the way that you see being able to create just like high-end experiences with high-end people, that it feels like a really cool way to kind of take that in. When I say that, is there any resonance there? Like that's what comes up for me.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where like my parents used to always tell me I had 5-star taste, like it was a negative thing. And it wasn't until I kind of got older and experienced more of that 5-star way of living, I guess, that I realized it wasn't really about the cost of things. It's that kind of unfortunate way that the world works at the moment, where to be treated and like you're special, like you have this high value, like you're an amazing human being, unfortunately, a lot of that level of service comes at a higher cost, and it shouldn't. It sucks that it has to. But and that's why I love kind of combining that level of things, but also with that kind of really simple personalized touch. Like I remember when I worked for the luxury brands in Harrods, like we would go right down to details around like, what's this person's, what conversations have you had with them? What diamonds do they like? Who are they shopping for? Are they shopping for their girlfriend? Tell us about your girlfriend. And so it wasn't just here's a couple of products that she might like. There was a real process of learning more about the person before even presenting anything to them.
So I really like right now that really resonates. I'm working with my team right now, because I brought up earlier service, right? I brought up service earlier. Part of the reason why service became like very top of mind is because we've become efficient. Like I'm really proud of the work that we've done inside of our organization to create different systems. We've got automation going on. I'm a systems thinker. As much as I show up in the moment and things, like my background is in like math and process and all that. And one of the things that really felt like it was like coming into play. Yeah, and if you need a second to go take care of something, go ahead and do it. I'll come back to that story in just a little bit here, but y'all, while we're getting back in the connection here, I want to point out something about hey Tamara. I'm just going to finish this one thing. While we're getting back in the connection, now that we're back in connection, I also noticed that like your background, like you didn't come into this space here. If you're watching the video here, you'll notice that like Tamara set up a space here, and sets up this conversation is its own experience, and I'm recognizing it. I feel it. I feel like from the moment that we came onto this conversation, I felt at ease. I felt relaxed. I'm like, there's really like there's not much work we have to do. And I've been asking myself in the back of my mind, one of the things I haven't said out loud, but one of it's in the back of my mind has been like, oh, why does this conversation feel so different? And I've had conversations with people that I've known for years. I've had conversations with incredible people like yourself. And I really do think that just the fact that this is not the fact that you've chosen a background to like that to in itself make this an experience has actually influenced the way that this conversation is going. So you're back now, but I want to make sure that I say that to you. I'm going to go back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, but I want to make sure I say that to you right here. Tell me about the intentionality behind it. Tell me about like the way, like the small ways that you find opportunities to create experience. And then I want to go into some of the other things you said.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you just said. People kind of underestimate, because we're not always consciously aware of it, how much these little details can affect the experience and your experience of it. It's one of the reasons that like luxury hotels like the Shangri-La, they have a signature scent that they pump into the air conditioning in every single Shangri-La hotel so that it smells the same, because that's part of the experience. So they want you, when you smell that, to remember your experience at the Shangri-La. And these are the details of the luxury world that kind of people don't always realize is part of what you're paying for and part of actually what makes it so amazing. Because and these small things, they don't really have anything to do with the cost. It's not caviar, it's not champagne, it's not diamonds or gold or anything like that. It's a smell that's pumped into the air conditioner. And that's a key element of the experience that they're providing every single customer. And so it's these little key details that are actually far more powerful than anything that has a huge high price tag on it. So
yeah, so like I'm not going to invite us here as outliers here to think about like how we create luxury in our life. Firstly, two things. What is luxurious to you, right? Like real luxury. And spend that time in that. And then Tamara, you let us know about a couple of different things around like the person, like really getting like personalized with it. And I think that's like so interesting and simple. It's simple, doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's easy to genuinely bring curiosity, to genuinely ask questions and like have people give you answers that like are actually meaningful, versus like put up walls and like, why, like, I don't know if I can tell you. I don't know why I need to know what my scent is, like, I don't know. So I know that there's like a skill involved in it, like for you to be able to do it. But I think there is something in there around like, how much more can we be bringing luxury into our experiences without even recognizing, like without doing that much.
And I used to do it on even just a really small, simple scale when I used to travel with the executives that I worked with in London. So I was meeting them at the train platform, and before they all arrived, I spoke to all of their PAs and I was like, what's their favorite drink, their favorite tea or coffee drink? And so when they arrived on the platform, I had them there waiting for them, ready to go, because these guys have just been on an hour and a half. And again, it's thinking about that longer part of the journey. What was the person doing before they reach you? And how can you make the next part of their experience with you that little bit more energetic or special or something, and kind of refresh them for that? So for me, I knew these guys have been on a train for a couple of hours from London. They've been up pretty early. They're about to go in to meet a bunch of employees and go to like a whirlwind of presentations and things like that I'd organized for them. They often ask for a tea or coffee when they first get there and want like 10 minutes just to freshen up. How can I offer that to them before they even get to the office? Okay. So that they're arriving into that employee space in that frame of mind of being energized and like ready to go.
All right. So now I'm going to ask some questions here. This is something that I've been finding. There's a new offering that I have. It's currently called Integrated. And one of the things that I do in that offering is that I help people take different parts of their lives and integrate it into the work that they're doing right now. It's actually like, it's a simple way of saying something that is actually like quite complex in the actual creation of it all. But a lot of it is translating the life that they've lived into how it shows up for them right now, right? So I get really curious. If you're down to play a little bit here, I'm understanding all of the context of creating luxurious experiences for people within the kind of the frameworks of where you would think luxury would live. Like you're like in the hotels or in the diamond and all that. Like, tell me now, I know that you create like transformational experiences. I know that when your clients work with you, they transform. The question I'm going to ask you is not about the experience overall, right? Because I understand, like, you know how to actually create the overall environment experience for it. But if you were translating, like, if you had to translate, like, what you just said, even about like the teas and having it ready there, how does that show up, like, in your coaching, in the work that you do, like, in the actual work? What are some of the equivalents that you do there, or some of the equivalents that someone might see if they wanted to bring that into their own work? Is that question clear? Let me make sure I'm asking that question.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because like a lot of what I do is often like in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
So for example, like if we come into the space and I notice that my client is feeling a little bit tired, like first of all, like to give you an example, this happened a couple of weeks ago. I said, "How are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, good. How are you?" And I'm like, "You seem tired." She's like, "Yeah, I'm tired." I'm like, "Okay, so let's try that again. How are you?" And then I was like, and let's do some deep breathing and kind of just like settle in and kind of get into the space. So just giving people a space even to feel what they feel is probably the first thing.
Yeah, I love that, because
Really
it's like you're the same way of like they've had a long day and now
yeah,
they're entering a room with you,
exactly.
right? And it's
This
like,
is my
okay,
way of refreshing you in the moment, of giving you
yeah,
that space to express how long of a day, what's been going on.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna like this is interesting to me. You also talked earlier about, okay, so a little bit ago we got disconnected just briefly. Let me ask you here. I'm taking a look at the time right now. Are you good to go a few more minutes? If you're complete and you have a call at the top of the hour, like I'm happy to end it here. But there's some element of this where I'm like, we're having a good conversation. If you can go a few more minutes, I'd love to take you off.
Yeah, I'm happy to go a few more minutes. My dog is getting a little antsy, but that's the only stress there. So as long as it's a few more minutes, we're fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes, we got to respect that. We got to really, really respect that. All right. So there's a thing here that I just think is super interesting, where like we've talked a bit about like 5-star tastes, right? When you said that, you said like your parents said you have 5-star tastes. And I know from our past conversations, like there's this element where you've been like considered a tall poppy, or like that you have like you really like stood out in various ways. So I kind of like when I hear 5-star taste and like that being used in almost a negative connotation, even if like let's say this, that being received in a negative connotation, regardless of how they put it out there. And thinking about you and your journey to consistently like bringing out more of you into the space here. I was wondering if you can speak just a bit about like the benefits of whether it's 5-star taste or like, being a tall poppy or whatever it is that you do. Like, I wonder if you can speak a little bit to that part there around just, I guess what it is almost like, it's almost like being able to receive the luxury that's coming to you. It's like because I can imagine if I was told that I had 5-star taste and I'm like, well, what I really, 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 really want is like just like this. Like, it isn't complicated, but it's just this. I would imagine it would be hard for me to ask at a certain point, because I would hear in my mind someone saying, "Look at him again," with his, for like whenever I talk, I get that. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, man, this guy loves the sound of his voice." It's like things I heard growing up. So I was really curious about like how you blend those two things, and how you like help elevate like yourself and others through to actually accept the luxury that's coming towards them.
Yeah, so I will answer that if it's okay. I'm just going to take 1 minute and open the door for the
Absolutely.
so give me 2
Absolutely.
seconds.
All right, great. I'm glad that you asked for what you needed to do. I'm glad I was able to get taken care of. Yeah, I'm not like, do not get in the way of this year. I know there's some
I
great
know,
things happening,
yeah.
but like, it's like luxury is
He
like,
was
just
wanting
open
to
the
go
door for me.
outside, so
Yeah.
he was really, really holding it.
Yeah. Just open the door for me.
Dog
That's all I'm
ownership, yeah.
asking. That's all I'm
But
asking
it
for.
does play into actually the question that you just asked, which is around, yeah, sometimes asking for what we want can be viewed as being too picky or having luxurious tastes. Like, how dare we demand what we want? You know, that's only what rich people do, and they're allowed to do it because they pay for everything and they have all this money. So, you know, they get all of that. And it's kind of something that I always had a little bit of an issue with as I was growing up. And then as I got more in touch with like people from that world or from the wealth and things like that with the different parts of my career, it kind of really struck me how people often view really successful, wealthy, influential, like the movie stars and the millionaires and everything like that, of, well, because they've got all those things, they don't need anything else. And vice versa. Like, if you don't have all those things, then you need all these other things. And so it's why does it have to be either or? And I think that's the thing that I find in my clients, and I know it was something I struggled with for a while, of how do you make that connection and allow those two things in your mind to be possible of happening simultaneously?
So I'm going to ask a quick follow up here, because I love to like see this as a little bit more real, right? So you said that this is something that like you struggled with yourself. Like take us to a moment here where you struggled with that, so I can get like a sense as to like what you really mean, because I understand that there's a lot of depth behind what you just said.
Yeah. I mean, the example that's coming up is actually with one of my clients. So he's had a lot of challenges recently with finding the balance between working on his business and taking care of his children when they're sick. He's got 2 young twins, and then they have an older one as well. And, you know, one gets sick and then the other one gets sick. And because he works from home, he has to look after them, and they try to get babysitters and things like that, but it doesn't always work out that way. And it can be quite disruptive to his work. So one of the conversations we had a few weeks ago was, how could you integrate those two things? How could you make like playing, like he's a storyteller, he's in branding. He turns businesses into brands. How could you enjoy like playing with your children and view that as inspiration to something that you're working on, or inspiration for how you market yourself or how you present at a presentation that you're doing, things like that. So, and even, yeah, with some people, they may share parts of their family life in the public eye and stuff like that. And some people don't want to go all that way. But it's really about how do you integrate those two things that, again, feel like either or. Either I work or I spend time with the family.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. That helps a lot. When you started saying that, it took me to it made something real come for me in terms of like what feels like luxurious and at the same time would really benefit me, right? So our family is growing. At the time of this recording, we're expecting our second child coming in here. Super excited about it. And at the same time, we're like, there's some apprehension because our first child was born in Singapore. And when we were in Singapore, we were able to get like live-in help to like help with so many different things, help us manage the house, right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, as an American, like, I can't, like, we can't do this here. It's like if like there felt like there was something like
viewed a certain way if we dare have a nanny in America. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it took me forever. It took me like, I literally, Tamara, I was like, it's not American. And I realized I'm like, oh no, it's not that it's not American. It's not middle-class American. Like wealthy Americans, like it's actually kind of like what I would be surprised if it wasn't, if they didn't have a nanny, you know what I'm saying? And it really started to like rub in on my own. I realized where like my own personal upbringing, my own personal like ways of looking at my life was keeping me like, basically I put an upper limit on like where I could be. So now we're here in San Diego. The costs are very different, but like what's in my mind is as I'm creating in the world, I'm like, okay, I want to create such that I can have it here in the States as well. And I want to like, I don't want to hide it either. Like, I don't want to be like ashamed of it or feel like, and this gets back to like the element of like being like like playing at a new level, being too big for your britches, like having those 5-star tastes. Like, dude, you're living in America. Like everyone else just takes care of the kids. How can you? I'm like, you know what though? Like if you take the time to ask the people who are playing at certain, like bringing certain things to life in their business or in their impact, they get support, you know. And there's like, it's not always talked about, and it feels luxurious, but it also feels like, oh, that's what I would actually want and need in order to keep playing at the levels that I want to keep playing at. And it would be really wonderful to not have to put extra energy to like hide that from people, you know. So you just took me to that. Right now it's one of the things that I'm creating in my world right here. And in addition to the external thing, I'm also making sure I'm internally creating. In Singapore, it was widely accepted. It was like, you know, it was what happened there. Whereas with me in the US, I'm like, oh, I have to bring myself to create myself as this right now. So I appreciate you just like helping me sink into this and finding. I'm actually asking myself various questions here, just kind of thinking about that, like what's really luxurious about that for me? Like, what is it that I really, really, really love? Like, if I can pick out elements of it, what really mattered, you know, versus like, what did I think the whole thing was? And like, let me actually just get that supported. If it's like someone coming in to like helping us clean or do laundry a few times a week, that might be all that is necessary, as opposed to someone like with us all the time. So this is me in real time, just kind of like growing as a result of this conversation. What comes to you as I share this?
Yeah, it's one of those catch-22s, right? Like everyone wants wealth and success and luxury, but oh no, we don't want to be up there, or the people that we're with now won't be able to come with us, and we might live, and there might be this whole conflict and things like that, and it becomes this whole fear then. So people don't actually end up reaching for what they really want. And what you were just saying, particularly around that, like we're talking about a nanny, right? Like, is that really damaging anyone? Like, it's actually supporting your children, supporting you as a family to be a better and stronger family, your children to grow and be stronger and better as well. How is that a negative other than the perception? And
Yeah,
this is something that always fascinates me, is how much perception can stop people from moving forward.
this is why I asked you the question, because I mean, like, it's something to have 5-star tastes, right? It's something to be going beyond your station in life. It's something to like, there's a lot of contradictions out in the world. And I think that's one of the things that makes us really powerful with the work that we do. It's like nothing else needs to be created. It's just how do we get out of our own ways to allow that which is actually available to us to like to readily come in. Like,
Yeah.
it took me leaving my home country and move into another country. I had to be there for years before, like, and I still had long conversations around this. So like to get to a place where I could actually feel comfortable doing it in a space where everyone else was doing it anyway, you know. So it's like there's something really, I didn't know where this conversation was going to go when we brought in you creating experiences and getting into luxury brands. There was just something about like, it's something about you and the way that you craft in the world that I feel like is really important. And the way that you are able to create these types of experiences that allow people to just say yes, and to, because as we're talking, I'm like, oh, there's a really huge distinction between being wealthy and being rich, you know. And they're like, just even just having that space to explore and see and allow that to grow within oneself feels really tremendous. And we're going to wrap up this conversation here, but I want to state that I want to capture that. I want to make sure I'm reflecting my own experience of just like being in conversation with you around this year, because I think it's making me look at it and question, like, where am I denying myself like simple pleasures, simple, I don't know what it is,
Yeah,
but like
simple
what
luxuries, yeah. Like
yeah, exactly.
I buy myself a red rose every week because I love red roses.
Yeah.
Tiny thing, tiny thing. It cost me like less than $1 here in Croatia. So it's in the UK it was like £2.50 at the store across the road. There was a florist. And that one rose in the UK, I haven't had it anywhere else in the world, but in the UK, that one rose would have a fate scent of rose in my entire bedroom. when I woke up in the morning. Just tiny, tiny things like that. And it's yeah, like what you were saying as well, around that support. And it's like I said earlier, where everyone should be made to feel like they are of value and deserve that luxury lifestyle and deserve to be given and offered that. But there's also a second layer of that support, which, like you said, is around that shifting the beliefs and shifting the thought systems around that. And that is at every single level, whether
Absolutely.
you are super, super successful and wealthy, or whether you're working at McDonald's or wherever it might be. Like there is that need for support around being luxurious with yourself first and foremost in teeny tiny ways, and then carrying that out into spaces. And that's what I really love doing for people. So.
Oh, you're tremendous at it. I appreciate you here. As we wrap up this conversation, I have two questions for you. If someone's interested in going and having a deeper, richer, like more luxurious experience of you, right? How can they best go forth and do that?
Yeah, so the best place is my website. So the Lone Wolf Pack, PAC.com. And you can see a lot more about me, a lot more about kind of what I offer in my luxurious and kind of personalized experiences in coaching and in retreats as well. And yeah, if you like what you see, if it feels like it aligns with you, if you get a pull to it, then book a complimentary first session. I like to offer complimentary first sessions to any new clients because I want to meet you too, and I want to see if we're going to get along and if I'm the best person to serve you, or there might be someone else. So for me, it has to be a mutual fit to really create the right energy to craft that experience. So.
Awesome. And then Tamara, we'll end this here with one last question for you. And this is the time capsule question. I'm not interested in like a lot of times people will say like, hey, what is a message that you would tell your former self? Right. I'm not interested in that. I believe that the person that you are right now has a lot of wisdom, and you're going to be going on your own journey. And sometimes you're going to get to a certain point where, like in the future, the wisdom that you need is exactly what is like completely present to you in this current moment. So my invitation to you here, this is for you. My invitation for you is to like leave your time capsule wisdom right here. So what's the message that you want to stay right now in the present that will be useful for your future self?
I love this actually because there's a website I use, Letters to Your Future Self.
Oh, cool.
I've actually started writing one of those kind of every couple of months to send to myself a few months later.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I have to check it out, and I'm like, I have to talk to whoever created it and bring them into the conversation there.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm glad that you're practicing it. And now let's do for this moment.
The message that is normally the most resonant for me is focusing on the positives that are happening right now. Because I know myself that I have the tendency in the future to kind of forget, and my mind wipes out the positive, amazing stuff that I've done, which a lot of people do. So yeah, sending myself that message of all the amazing things that I have done to this point and have happened even in this moment, in this conversation, to just remind myself that if I'm in a space where it all feels a bit crappy, that it's not.
So what we'll do is we'll leave that there. That's for you. That's a message for you here. It's my gift to you in this conversation to leave that. I'm glad to hear that you're practicing this. I think it's really it's something that I think is important here, where it's to not discount what we have right now, because we do need it. We do need it. Well, Tamara, I am really, really grateful for our conversation. I know people can go to the Lone Wolf Pack. Is the Lone Wolf Pack or Lone Wolf Pack?
The Lone Wolf Pack, PAC, no K on the end, .com.
The lonewolfpack.com to continue down this journey and to have their version of what a luxurious experience would be in one of the many contexts that you do. But I'm enjoying the luxury of talking to you. I'm enjoying being like the conversation we have and the experience that is you. All right. Thanks so much for being you, and thanks for bringing all that you do to the table. I'll talk to you soon.
We're just getting started. Take 10 seconds to think about your greatest insight from today's conversation. And if you're ready to go and bring this to a deeper, more applicable level for you, come and join us in an upcoming masterclass. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass to be coached live and to bring your aspirations, your goals, and your challenges and have them handled in real time. This is high flame, high impact, high transformation. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass and come experience your next level of leadership.